Hey guys, this is Eve. Thanks for tuning into my channel. This channel is dedicated to exploring various topics of the metaphysics, looking at them from a very occult standpoint. And so I felt compelled to do this video because I'm sick and tired of hearing about this Diddy situation, with everyone and the people that ride in my car and shit like that. So I'm like, you know what? Let me put a very esoteric, deeply spiritual, spin on what's going on because, this is the hell realm. We're in hell, okay? So hell represents the smallest or the lowest, I should say, taxonomy of knowledge, which is what, right? So Diddy is a abuser. You know what I mean? And that type of thing. And at the ground, it says he's an abuser. And of course, at this ground level, what he did was wrong. However, I do want people to consider why and how, he came to be that way. Do you see what I'm saying? So, as far as elites, not just him, but just many different other elites or whatever the case is, they live in different brainwave frequencies than we do. Okay, so most people, they we have a job, we have children to take care of, we have people who follow my videos, I've spoken about this before, but we have things that regular mundane people take care of. You see what I'm saying? Whereas the elite, they don't have those things. You see what I'm saying? So because of that, they live in a place where they can smell the roses all the time. You know what I mean? Like they delegate tasks, so they're masters. They're not like people who, are in the trenches every day doing the, day-to-day work. Even if they have children, they're not really doing the grunt work. Like they have nannies and tutors and, people like that. So they'd have people to kind of lessen the load for them. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, so people who are elitists like like Diddy or whatever the case is, he lives in a different brainwave state. And so, whenever you're in these slower brainwave states, whatever, as an elitist with so much money, you can ground your desires. So you have the will, right? You have power, you have money. You start to degenerate. I tell people, like, if you want to empathize with an elitist or whatever the case is, you would, like, if I gave you $1 billion, you would ground your desires. You would, buy the houses and cars and, whatever, fuck all the women and men or whatever that you want, travel the world, whatever the case is. But after you do all of that, then your mind starts to degenerate. So you start, like my ex-husband would always say, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And so you would start to think of really kind of like crazy twisted things. So this is where the mind comes in. There's too much of an emphasis on the mind here. Okay, so that's why you hear about him and all of these like what is it, like all of these like certain things, like he would have like the naked basketball and shit like that, just very, I'm sorry guys, I'm always like, when I'm doing my spiritual work, I always have like issues with my sinuses, but he always has like, something, there's they do things that are crazy or what we consider to be crazy, like the naked basketball with stuff like that. So to the mundane people who we don't have time for those things, it's very weird, but for them this is a way of life because they have reached a plateau as it pertains to Saturn, right? Saturn has turned into Satan for them. Okay, so, like when you look at the celestial body of Saturn, I always point to this, you see that the North Pole axis of Saturn does not turn. It just stays fixed, okay? So these people have an imbalance of Saturn, which is like the planet of consciousness that's relating to the material, right? Physical manifestations. And so once you've actually grounded your desires, you have to create more desires to stay on the earth plane. And so this is why his behavior has deteriorated into this type of what we consider to be filth. Okay, filth. Now, as far as Cassie is concerned, Cassie was sent to him. Okay, so Cassie is a twin, right? I would consider her to be a twin flame. And so, Cassie and Diddy are they're not alike. You know what I mean? Like, she's very soft and submissive and feminine, whatever. He's very Aries and, just very assertive and that type of thing. And so they are like yin and yang, but I feel like that's why he had taken such a liking to Cassie, compared to some of his other women, because she represents home to him in this physical world. So remember, like, your twin flame is the physical manifestation of your subconscious. So your subconscious is the devil, is the veil of your ego. So he attracted the devil when it comes to Cassie. Okay, now I know that this sounds weird because it's like, wait a second, he's the one whooping her ass. Yes, but I'm talking about an esoteric. Remember, this is an esoteric channel. It's not a channel that when you say certain things that regular mundane people are going to be like, oh, it's like, it's not like that. So, like, a lot of things I say is heresy or blasphemy, whatever the case is. People they don't really have a frame of reference to wrap their heads around it. But Cassie would be his devil, right? Or veil of his ego. So the person that, like, Cassie is someone to shed light on his quote unquote evil or his wicked ways or whatever the case is, because she's innocent, you know what I mean? And so there's nothing innocent about P. Diddy. There's nothing innocent about him. You see what I'm saying? So when he attracted innocence, right? It put a light on how quote unquote ugly he was. And so this is why he really went through a whole lot to transform Cassie into him. Because one thing about, like, twin flame relationships, like, in the new age, it's, they're oftentimes, described as like runner chaser relationship. It has a runner chaser dynamic. It's a very difficult relationship to maintain. Okay, so he tried. One thing that I've noticed about twin flame relationships is that the twin will try to change you into their soul. So the thing about it is that this is the physical plane. And so it is a soulmate that makes us feel truly at home, because this is what mirrors our ego. The soulmate mirrors our ego. And so when we see the twin, we're trying to subconsciously, it's not a conscious thing, but we're subconsciously trying to destroy the twin. We're trying to make the twin into who we are, right? In a subconscious, not conscious, but a subconscious type of way. And so this is where you get him telling Cassie, like, to have sex with all these different men in front of him, and, sex workers and stuff like that, and all these kind of what we consider to be weird types of things, like sucking the tampon or whatever. What is it they had? They say he had Kim Porter suck the blood off of Cassie's tampon and stuff like that. And so for people like us, we're like, that's some batshit crazy shit. You see what I'm saying? But really, for an elitist, right, someone who has a lot of money and someone who has a lot of too much time on their hands, and they've grounded all of their desires and their wishes, the mind will start to degenerate. You see what I'm saying? So when I saw that video of him, beating Cassie, just like everybody else, I was like, oh, that's really horrible. But really, it's like a clairvoyant, like, in order for me to like, spiritually process information, I have to be detached from it. You know what I mean? And there has to be a certain level of dissociation. You know what I mean? And so I don't really look at things the way that normal humans do. But when I saw him beating Cassie, he was beating himself. Yeah. I saw him beating himself. Because I'm picking up psychically that he feels very bad, very guilty, very just very just he feels bad about himself, you know what I mean, and bad about how he has devolved into this person. And so Cassie represents his subconscious that feels bad, that judges. You see what I'm saying? And so the subconscious judges you. You know what I mean? Especially with men. The feminine will judge the masculine will judge the feminine, and vice versa. So, so she represents God, or the person, the subconscious is like, oh, you know, you're fucked up for, you know, I don't know, having Kim Porter like suck my tampon, or having me have sex with these men in front of you, whatever the case is. But his whole purpose was to turn her into him. You see, so the twin flame dynamic is kind of like a virus. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's trying to infect you, it's trying to get rid of you. You see what I'm saying? So it could totally, I guess what you would say, maintain its soul. You see what I'm saying? And its will and its desire, what have you. And so it's trying to cancel this aspect of itself out. So when he's whooping her ass, he's whooping his own ass, you know, and she's just a physical representation of that. But like you said, you know, although he was whooping her ass, he dragged her back to the room. So that's the thing about twin flame relationships. Although it's volatile, it's like, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you. You know what I mean? Like type of situation. Like, what the hell is that? You know, so I feel like, you know, in this situation, you know, we should really rally around, I wouldn't say rally, is that the right word? That we should put our arms around Diddy and say, hey, you know, this is a bigger issue besides, you know, between what you and Cassie went through. You know, she represents an aspect of you. And so this aspect of you that you hate, or whatever the case, that you're trying to beat out of yourself, you know, let's ask questions like, why do you not want to be this person? You know what I mean? You know, ask certain questions that will take the surface level out of things, and to really have him to do some introspection, to be like, okay, let's go subconsciously into things to see what's going on. You know, and really the people who are judging, like, oh, you know, he's a horrible person, this, that, and the other, like, you're really going to hell. Sorry to say, but you really are. I know, beings like me, it's like, how dare you say we're going to hell, but you are, actually. Sorry. You're going to hell. Because like when you look at Christianity, like religions like Christianity, and like this cross, like it represents a cross between the conscious and the subconscious mind. That's the cross. The cross of Christianity is your God self, which is your ego, and the self that you will die to, which is your subconscious self. Do you see what I'm saying? And so most people in the hell realm, especially nowadays, don't have a connection between their conscious self and their subconscious self. So you don't know what you're up against. Do you see what I'm saying? It just reminds me of like the experiment, whatever the case is, that they did with the two sets of men. Like one set of men, they were homophobic, whereas one set of men, they were you know, ambivalent about homosexuals or whatever. And so they showed both groups of men gay porn. And so the group that had the strongest reaction, right? The strongest reaction to the film. It didn't have to be an erection. A reaction could be, you know, an erection, heart palpitations, sweating, that type of thing. You know, increased, you know, heart rate. Were the men who, that hated gay men. They had the strongest erections. They had the strongest heart palpitations, the strongest reaction overall. You see what I'm saying? So what is that telling you? When you meet the cross, when you die, right? Anything that you're emphatically like saying, I hate, you know, this or that and the other, please look into that. If you are really super duper judgmental about something, that same thing that you're judging is really truly a part of you. That's how it works in the spirituality. You know what I mean? That's how it works when I teach about deep metaphysical principles and esoteric knowledge and stuff like that. When you meet the cross, right? Because see, most people can't meet the cross. The subconscious jumps out, you know, sometimes at unexpected times. Like there's a scent, or there's a sight, or whatever the case is. There's some type of sensory thing that reverts back to the subconscious. So you have your subconscious before the age of 7 when you were born. And you also have a subconscious that exists outside of, you know, your current incarnation, which is past incarnations and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? Especially the 144,000. You know, you have lives lived in Lemuria, Atlantis, and all over. You know what I mean? So it's a very old soul. Speaking of that, like tonight, I met so many old souls. Like I met one guy. He's a Pisces sun. I met a girl. Listen, and this is why I did this video too, because she like, I don't know. I felt bad for her. Like she was a Pisces sun, Pisces moon, and her boyfriend was like gonna whoop her ass. Like I was like, I did not want to drop her off. I was like, bitch, I'll take you somewhere else. You know what I mean? And she was like, I'll be okay. I was like, no, honey, you won't, you know? And so I felt some kind of way dropping her off because, like, you know, Pisces moons and suns, like, you have that combination, like, you really are a sacrifice. Like, somebody's going to kill you and murder you. And so when I saw him, because we saw her man, like, when I was, what is that? She had a stop or whatever the case is, and he looked like crazy as fuck. And so I was like, look, like, you know, let's like think about this here. Like, what's plan B, whatever the case is. And you know, she was she wasn't a sex worker per se, but she was a dancer, yeah, exotic dancer. And so she was like, you know, I bring in most of the money in the household and that type of thing. But you know, her boyfriend was being very abusive and that type of thing. And so, you know, I was like, okay, it could get physical. Like to me, it looked like it could possibly be a physical situation. You know what I mean? But you know, I got off on a tangent. But with that being said, you know, just to kind of do a closing or whatever the case is, you know, P. Diddy really this situation involving him should really have us look at ourselves, you know. And I really do, because I teach stuff or whatever the case is, but you know, when I incarnated here, you know, I incarnated to be like everybody else, to look like everybody else, you know, to go through the same shit that everybody else goes through, you know what I mean? So, you know, in seeing that, I have to look at myself and say, okay, what is it that I really hate? You know, what is it that I really love? You know, what are those things? Search myself, you know, search myself and say, okay, you know, what is it that I will be up against when I leave this earth, when I leave my body? You see what I'm saying? Like, what is it that I will have to quote unquote answer for? Whatever the case is, you see? So it's not good to hate or love anything. It is best to, I guess what you would say, I almost had a ride. I don't know how much that ride was, but anyway, I think this video is important. I need to get this off my chest, actually. But it's important to search yourself, and when you really find, especially things that you really hate, that you really detest, you need to get closer to those things. You see what I'm saying? If you hate gay people, you need to go hang out with some gay folks, you know. And I love gay people, you know, like this new song out from, I can't remember the guy's name. He is so wonderful. I listen to him all the time. Like, he has a song, it's called Wrong Bitch. And so I feel like that's like my anthem, you know, like one of those green bitches. But he has a song called I'm Gay, you know. And so the reason why I like his music, and I'll put a link in the description or whatever with the song and this artist, because he's gay and some people hate gay people, right? But regardless if you hate gay people or not, you would think that that song is funny as fuck. You'd be like, man, I hate gay people, but I love that song. You see what I'm saying? Like, he's just too talented and too funny and cheeky to hate. You see what I'm saying? And so I really like his songs, and I like how it bridges the gap between people who have differences to come together, you know, for entertainment in a humorous type of way. So I feel like, you know, he's very much a transformative Christ-like type figure in the industry right now. So, you know, kudos to him. But I'll put the artist, like I said, his name like kind of escapes me. I don't know why, but I guess I haven't eaten yet. You know, I need to eat, you know. I need to eat a lot of sushi too. I feel like my memory is leaving. And so I need some DHA, whatever the case is. That DHA is really good, by the way. When I was pregnant, I remember I took a lot of DHA. So when my daughter was born, and I would take her like to the I would take her to the pediatrician. They would be like writing, like feverishly on their boards, like, what the fuck are you writing? And they're like, well, her motor skills are off the charts, and we've never seen a child this age do what she's doing. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't really think anything of it at the time. But now that, I think back to my regimens and stuff like that, and things that I did, during that time, my pregnancy, DHA is important. So if you want to, maintain your memory, increase your memory, to stave off any type of, like, if you know that your family is predisposed to, I guess what you would say, like mind, diseases or whatever, like dementia, stuff like that, where the mind is too much of at the forefront. DHA definitely helps to, and eating a lot of fish and raw fish and stuff like that, it definitely helps to stave off and to stop, the decay or whatever's in the brain that causes you to lose your memory. So, yeah, but, I just want people to, really take a look at themselves during this time. I'm going to take a look at myself, you know what I mean? And try to figure out, what are those things that, I need to examine within myself, and that's one thing about me as a spiritual teacher. I don't point out, people's shit and just be like, oh, that's your shit and I'm wonderful and I'm Mother Teresa. I've never been like that. You know what I mean? I always put my shit out there, and show people who I am, because I feel like, you can't really teach people unless you, like, walk where they've walked and you've been in their shoes. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to hear anything from someone that's on a pedestal. You see what I'm saying? You're like, fuck you. You want someone who looks like you, and they might have a different insight, but they are going through the same thing that you're going through. Okay? So I just pretty much want to end it on that note, and, want people to really, keep Diddy in your prayers or what have you, and take away your judgments, and just know that if you're pointing a finger at somebody, there's 4 pointing back at you. All right, guys, I will see you in my next video.